Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Blue Dragon 5 here.
And Jacob Weil.
And remote.
It's time yet again to explore the vast catalog and find out what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. Tonight, we're talking Loki, Season 2, Episode 4, Heart of the TVA.
Ooh.
Ooh, as you probably guessed, we're here yet again, and like we try to do, we try to have some new panelists, and here we have Romello Malone coming back for another MCU Plus&Us installment. So Romello, how you doing? How you feeling about the show so far?
I started watching the second season today. To be honest with you, I was just planning on. I was gonna wait till all the episodes were done. Then I was gonna watch the episode, but then you wanted me to come on, so I decided to watch it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. So, what do you think of the show so far?
See, when I first started watching it, I did watch season one, but I did not watch all the rest of the episodes. I only watched episode one, so now I'm started watching season two, and I think the episodes are a little bit interesting. I'm afraid that this season will be another Nick Fury show type of way with all
Another
the
secret invasion.
yeah. That's what I'm scared of. That's why I was trying to wait till all the episodes were done because something was telling me that I was going to get another like let's just say like another Roy was a scroll the whole time or something in the show or something like someone just messed with the continuity on the show on the MCU. So I'm trying to make sure that I just at first I was trying to avoid watching other MCU shows, but I'm going to take another shot at it.
Okay, Jacob.
All right. This episode was very intense, as you're well aware, Dragon.
Yeah.
Like this is like probably like one of the most intense episodes of the MCU period, not just of Loki. I mean, the stakes are insane in this one. Like characters are being betrayed and switching sides left and right.
You don't killing people to death.
It's like something that we thought was going to be saved for the final episode of the season ended up being used in this episode.
Quite surprising.
Can I ask y'all something?
Yeah.
Did you guys feel like this episode felt like the final the season finale?
Yeah, I mean, well, it felt like surprising that we were expecting an episode kind of like this for the finale, but we kind of got early.
Yeah, just the way that the episode ended, it felt like to me this was like the final climax of this season for some reason. The way they just ended with the 1893 king in this episode.
And to be fair, I think last season kind of did something similar as well. Like when they had like something supposedly cataclysmic in like the middle episodes.
Well, episode 4 of the first season, we pruned Loki, which was kind of a big deal. But then we revealed that this episode did not have such a post-credit scene to reassure the folks he's fine, and we have more Lokis. We're gonna be okay, kids.
Even though technically he does get pruned again in this episode.
Well, you're right. Yeah, it's kind of snaking its tail.
Yeah, we do end up seeing two Lokis in this episode.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. It's like we figure out who actually pruned Loki from the first episode.
I really love that reveal. I thought that was a neat reveal.
And the whole like mystery of like why it was happening still hasn't really totally been revealed yet.
Yeah, I was about to ask that question. Like, I felt like did I miss something from the last 3 episodes or something? Like, I mean, I know they showed.
You didn't necessarily miss. Yeah,
I mean, the time jumping was kind of explained. They like the faultiness of everything, but the events of what was happening is revealed in this episode. But exactly why he was in two places at once isn't explicitly revealed, or maybe it's just because of the whole time traveling thing.
Yeah, that scene with Loki killing himself with that sword, it kind of reminded me of. Have you guys ever seen Harry Potter, the Prisoner of Azkaban,
Yes,
the third film?
yes.
It reminded me of that scene where Harry thought he saw his dad uh, using the one to get rid of the shadow guys or whatever, but it turned out in the final act that it was actually Harry himself when he went back in time to see what happened. When they showed us with Loki, it just reminded me of that scene for some reason.
That makes sense.
So I guess, Jake, unless you had anything else you wanted to round things out with, I guess we should just kind of dive into it.
No, I don't really have anything to say about this.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was a solid episode. It didn't quite go as I expected, but that's not a bad thing. Just given how kind of we jumped to the finale and everything, seemingly. But that's it. Honestly, we're at a point, Loki, where I just had no guess at any specifics as to what's going to go on here. Because I mean, overall, this episode has given me some perspective on the season has really been scaled down in a sense, in terms of we've really localized what the main crux of the season is, where we just got to fix that loom. That's all we're doing this season. At least four episodes, assumingly five, to figure out how we're going to undo what we just did at the end of this episode. So at least five to potentially all 6 episodes, we're kind of dedicating to just fixing that loom versus like kind of going anywhere beyond that story. So I mean, I've been satisfied with it so far. But when you kind of like go with the exploded view of the season, like, man, we really haven't done much this season. In retrospect, we're still stuck on episode 2, really.
But it's still kind of amazing, like how they managed to keep that tension and stakes throughout the entirety of this, despite it having that one singular goal.
Yeah, because I've been having a good time with it. It's just been really, man, it makes you kind of part of it makes you wish you had like a longer season, but I have a feeling they're going somewhere with it, which is why we have not gone other places. But I don't know. So the episode itself, so we kind of start with the money shot, with the branching timelines as we are back at He Who Remains' Citadel, which has his decaying dead body there, which is still a very eerie idea. Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, with Miss Minutes showing Ravana that he wiped her memory.
Yeah, so this is something we teed up in the first episode of this season, where Loki heard the recording of this conversation that Miss Minutes had access to. So, we kind of teased this up, and essentially we reveal is that she was a very key factor in winning the first multiversal war, which gave He Who Remains all of his power, which basically let him be essentially the head Kang in charge, like the level-headed Kang in charge, more like Kang the Watcher than Kang the Conqueror. But so that's the thing. So she finds this out, and she's like, Miss Minutes proposes a team of like, hey, the TV is essentially your birthright. Let's just take it for ourselves. Let's run it ourselves. Like he let us down. Let's do
it. Miss Minutes is definitely up to something.
She's very terrifying in this episode, Miss Minutes,
as demonstrated by the image we chose.
Yeah, and she was a ghost last episode, so we've gone really scary with her.
Yeah, and the ghost part wasn't even the scariest aspect of her.
No. So Victor Timely, he's at the TVA, and he's like a kid in the candy store. He's fascinated by the hot cocoa machine, and he's.
I love his fascination with the hot cocoa machine.
I love that it's. My read on is that it's kind of a parallel to Mobius's obsession with the jet ski. That's kind of what I read it as. I think that's kind of an equivalent.
It's like, did you say hot cocoa?
Yeah, the hot cocoa machine. You seem to really like the machine part.
It got an 1893 Koenig to decide about that.
I mean, to be fair, anyone from that time period who's interested in that kind of stuff would be like, that would seem like the future. Obviously, that's the future to them.
I felt so bad he wasn't able to taste the hot cocoa, though.
Yeah, it's like,
but he didn't really want it, though. I mean, he had it, But what do you think? Was he being polite and just offering it to him first, or did he just not want to drink it?
I think he just wanted to make it himself and then see what somebody else thought of it.
Makes sense.
And then and then the guy got pruned.
Did you guys think King killed him at first?
No, not at all. Really, I didn't think. I was. I was focused on. Is he going to drink the hot cocoa? Honestly, the way I thought that scene was going, this is going to sound really silly. I just thought the way it seems it goes like he's going to give him the hot cocoa. He's like, oh boy, more quarters. I made another hot cocoa for myself. Now that I know that it checks out.
Yeah, that was.
That's what I thought was going to happen. Then something bad was going to happen. Like while he turned around to get the other hot cocoa, but no, that's not what happened at all. The hot cocoa was a tease of the promised land. It never came.
But when I saw the hot cocoa falling, I was like, no, not the hot cocoa.
Oh yeah. So okay, to circle back to what Romello was referring to, kind of at the start, at least a little bit in terms of the plotting. So we need Timely to fix the loom. Now, I feel this is a bit of a retcon between episodes, which kind of bothered me a little bit. Not entirely, but it's just something like in terms of our carryover, because they really laid it out very simply in the previous episodes. That, okay, we have a fix for the loom, but we need to open the doors. We can't open the doors. So it sounded like they had the solution already, but they couldn't get the doors open, which is why they missed minutes. And then they had the alternative solution of Victor Timely. Now, very much this episode is like, okay, well, we also need someone to help kind of fix this. So it feels like it's got really, really lucky that of all the people we found, it was Victor Timely. He can absolutely fix this with us.
Yeah, it is pretty cool how he did it. He's like, that's my loom.
Which, fun Easter egg, the thing that he builds is very reminiscent of the device Kang has in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to watch that again. I haven't.
It's like the little orb device that Scott Lang's been tasked to steal. So that little orb that we got, basically got shrunk and then kind of grown in Quantumania. So that's essentially the device that he's seemingly built here.
I wonder if that's a clue or something.
I have a theory with this episode. I think when we kind of evaporated or like destroyed, or, the radiation seemingly destroyed Victor Timely, I think that turned him into Kang. And I don't know if we're saying perhaps that's what turns this variant into the first Kang that we're going to see of the many Kangs we're going to see after, the one from Quantumania. I think I got turned into like maybe like the first of many, or just like, okay, here's like our first taste of Kang with the other ones that are on the board now. I think that's kind of his Kang origin here. Like, we don't know how Kang turned blue in the first place, at least not in the MCU so far yet. I'm thinking that may have had something to do with it. I think we kind of pulled a little bit of a Fantastic Four on him. Kind of the cosmic, in this case, time radiation kind of did that to him.
Yeah, like when he got him, like to jump ahead a little bit, when he stepped out, when Victor stepped out into the time radiation, he just got immediately eviscerated.
Which was that was a very surprise. Of course, in a lot of times we kind of, with the nickname I've kind of adopted is the matchstick moment from the Pixar films, in which, it's like the audience member is savvy, like, okay, we've laid out what's going to happen, okay, they're going to light the rocket, and then then the car whizzes by and blows it out, and the equivalent being like, okay, we the audience think Victor's so he's going to go there, it's going to be a harrowing sequence, he's going to plug the thing, and then we're going to save him at the last minute, or there's going to be a heroic sacrifice. Nope, he just walks out, and then whoop, instantly gone. No Victor Timely. We're screwed. The universe pretty much ends before our eyes, and Loki is no more, it would seem.
Until we see what actually happened in episode 5.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying that's kind of what the tease is, like, like it's all gone, but we have 2 episodes left.
But seriously, that you gotta admit that doing that kind of ending took guts.
Yeah.
It's like, geez, like they're really going in on like the heroes aren't coming out scot-free in this one, it looks like.
Of course, let's talk about one of the best things in this episode, Ouroboros meeting Victor Timely.
And it actually alludes to an actual Ouroboros.
I know, which I thought was so darn cute. Just the idea, okay, so it's a literal Ouroboros where it's the snake eating its own tail, where he wrote the book in the first place, but he actually wrote the book to inspire the guy who originally wrote the book. Like, that's crazy.
So it's like they inspired each other's work.
That's what I'm saying. That's kind of the fun of the TVA, and kind of like what we're doing with this show here with all the time stuff, where time works differently in the TVA. So like that's a great example of what the show's kind of going for. And the fact that they're kind of fanboying out at each other, and like, can you inscribe mine? Only if you inscribe mine.
It was nice.
Delightful. Plus, we set up that he loved OB, so it was like this is like a big star. I love how starstruck he is.
Yeah, Romello, what'd you think of all that?
I think it was a fine scene.
All right. So, let's see. By the way, OB built a wonderful model of the Ganway, and
he has a lot of spare time on his hands.
I miss that. I love how he's really hard on himself, and they say, "No, OB, it looks great. Dude, you're being too hard on yourself. And it does look great. It's a great model that he built.
You're a sucker for scale models.
I am, but look at that model, Jake. That's a great model.
It is a great model.
It even comes like the little suit guy.
And then Mobius and Loki get on like, well, clearly it's clearly not me.
Okay, so that to me is like some of the most charming banter in the thing. Just it's like, no, clearly it's you. Like, no, it's not me. It's you can't tell it's me at all. It's a little suit model.
Like, it's obviously none of them wanted to get vaporized by time radiation.
I mean, the action figure didn't actually look like him, so of course that's why. Of course that's why he kept on saying that.
Yeah, he doesn't want to go out there. Mobius definitely doesn't want to go out there because he almost got killed last time.
Like, I was like, it is kind of Loki's turn. But
it is.
But it's honestly a good thing he didn't.
Oh yeah. All right, so Docs, Brad, and company. They've been imprisoned in like the little kind of holding cell area, and so I was really suspect of B-15's plan of like offering amnesty to Docs and company to give them a second chance to preserve the TVA and everything. Because I don't know, it just seemed like a really bad idea. But I gotta admit, they kind of sold me on. Where like she had a really logical argument for like, hey, we have a mutual understanding here. We both want to serve the TVA and just we want to change the agenda a little here. So
yeah, it made more sense than Renslayer's idea.
Yes, but by the same token, I do love that Sylvie had a point that had Docs actually been able to rejoin the team, Sylvie would have really hated it, and she would have been absolutely right what she said to Loki that they're just gonna forgive and forget what happened there, and they're just gonna let her on. The TVA is gonna keep making these mistakes over and over again. So I love that she I'm not saying she's entirely right, but I mean, because there's more to that circumstance she's given credit for, but I like that in some respect, Sylvie is kind of right, that TVA is just kind of, they're going through the motions.
I mean, most of the times she's wrong more times in this episode than she is right, though.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately she's, yeah.
I mean, most of the time she's like dead wrong.
Best part of that, though, conversation happened in the pie room.
Yep. It's like basically Loki like called her out on her BS.
Yeah.
And like he actually is able to explain like the benefit of the TVA as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Romello?
How you guys feel about Loki and Sylvie in that boardroom when Loki mentions about Odin? He mentions
the first Thor movie.
Yeah, he mentions about Thor being banished and then coming back being a different man. How you guys feel that reference?
I really like that. I thought that was good character growth on Loki and what the show's going for, because that's him like reflecting on. It's interesting because we have a Loki who again is not necessarily going on kind of like through a very different path. He's going on kind of the Infinity Saga Loki arc.
Yeah,
where,
I mean this. You have to remind yourself that this is not the Loki that went through Thor 2 to Avengers Infinity War. This is the Loki from Avengers 1 and
basically he saw his like alternate life flash before his eyes.
Yeah. But that's the thing, I like that he's kind of been between that and just the journey that he's been on himself. He's really kind of like reevaluated his stance on his brother. So going back to the first Thor movie, which had some of the best Loki stuff in it. I'm just in terms of like the beginnings of Loki and like a lot of the great Shakespearean drama and everything. It's just kind of nice him like seeing the error in his ways and how he kind of judged his brother, and just seeing like oh my god, I've kind of become Thor in that movie. I've kind of gone through it, and I've seen like weaknesses. Like humanity, value in human life isn't a weakness like I thought it was.
I still kind of love the behind the scenes, right? That Tom Hiddleston tried out for Thor.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
No, I can't. I mean, we've seen it, but I can't imagine it.
I've seen the screen test. Tom Hanks is a good actor, but I don't think he would have been right for the role.
I mean, obviously he's been great as Loki, so.
I mean, that's basically the best decision for him to portray for this universe.
Yeah.
So it would seem to me that, again, potentially, like assuming we ever get a season 3 or not, or at the very least, what we might be suggesting by the end of this season, assuming reality indeed has not come completely unraveled. I think Loki's kind of circling what the new mission, like a new version of the TVA is, with potentially Loki helming it for all we know. It's the idea that he's suggesting that we preserve the free will, because that's very important to him, the whole free will thing. So it's like we preserve free will and monitor the timeline instead of pruning the timelines. Like I think that's where we're circling. We're going to let all the branches happen. We're going to find some way to keep all the branches, but what we're going to do is monitor them almost Men in Black style.
And Sylvie's whole thing is like, so basically it's all playing God. And he's like, we are gods.
Which is a great line. That's what makes me think that's going to happen. Like, well, yeah, I mean, that would give Loki everything he wants if he's in charge of the TVA or some version of the TVA, Agent of Asgard, or whatever you want to call it.
I mean, that's basically where he wanted from day one, since the first Thor film in the Avengers. Want to be seen as a god to people.
Hey, you could tell how kind of hurt he was in like the World's Fair previously, when it's like Odin, Thor, Balder.
Yeah.
It's just like you could just tell how kind of sad he was that he wasn't recognized in that universe.
Mm-hmm.
Poor guy.
Yep. All right, let's see. So, anyway, with Docs and company there, we have this. So Ravonna Renslayer shows up. She tries to poach all those guys to go on her side and rebel against the TVA and do an uprising sort of thing.
Nobody except Brad joins.
And Brad did it mostly as survival, let's be honest.
Yep, he did.
So that's the thing. So we kill them off very horrifically. We tease this up with like the interrogation scene with like the cubing machine.
With the cube sucking and like with Loki using the cube thing to making it big and small to have him uncoupled so he could talk. I just thought that. I mean, honestly, I thought he was going to kill him in that scene, but I guess that was the way to get him to.
A little bit of a foreshadow now. Ultimately, we definitely did kill a bunch of people with that thing.
And of course, everyone else, basically everyone else sees through what Renslayer's actually trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, they refuse to join her.
Yep. I love how he shot that horrific sequence. Like, we're playing on Brad's horrified reaction, but the creepiest thing for me,
Miss Minutes is like absolute glee of the whole thing.
That's the thing. That's where Miss Minutes. I should say Miss Menace, honestly, at this point. But Miss Minutes, this is where she gets truly terrifying. It's the idea of like the fact that the TVA is at her beck and call because she's in the mainframe. She turns off all the temp pads and she can turn on that machine. And the moment that I realized, like, oh my god, this is gonna be terrifying.
It's like she's in control.
Yeah.
Am I the only one who feels like she's switching sides too much? Like one minute she's on what's the character's name? She's on Judge Renslayer's side.
Renslayer, yeah.
And then she's on 1864 King's side, and then she goes back to her. Like, I'm just wondering what's her motive in that?
Well,
episode?
I don't. Here's why I don't think it's her switching sides necessary. I mean, there is one significant side switch, but it's kind of complicated because the whole time she was working for He Who Remains, not Renslayer. Renslayer is part of the contingency to help find a new He Who Remains. So ultimately, that's the first team up with Renslayer is still in service of the whole He Who Remains contingency. That's still her being faithful to the original guy. And I think ultimately, like she gets betrayed by she turns on him once her affections are spurned by the Victor Timely tank.
A woman scorned.
Yep, clock scorned in this cartoon clock scorned in this case, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that was like her actually switching sides to Renslayer. So I think maybe ultimately it was like a one turncoat thing. Once the like okay, you will never be. Once she realized that guy's never gonna be, he who remains.
I mean, specifically, I mean, even later she says like, "You'll never be him."
Yeah. She loved the original guy. That was the guy she was in service to, and that she was trying to replicate him. When that fell through, it was like, okay, I'm going to Team Renslayer here.
And she's always, if anything, she's always just been on her own side.
That's fair. That too, I guess. I love so when she reboots, we have like all the different forms, like the code and stuff of Miss Minutes when she reboots. They're basically locking her out of the system when they reboot her.
Like the moment she realizes she's not in control anymore, she basically starts panicking.
Now, presumably, we're gonna have like a good guy version of Miss Minutes because she'll still be around. We didn't kill her; we rebooted her, so presumably she'll be around.
Maybe, well, sometimes maybe she'll retain some of the memories though.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Let's see but yeah, sorry. When we did the whole horrific murder of all those former TVA agents, the blood dripping sound. I love that we didn't show any of it, but we heard that dripping sound.
But the funny thing is, when B15 or X15 came back later to check on it, you could actually
B15.
Yeah, B15. You could actually see in the blurry background. You could actually see the floor is more red than usual.
Yeah,
it's like it's all blurry, but you could see it there.
It's a good call.
It's like, yep, they got crushed to death. And Renslayer was indifferent. Brad looked away, and Miss Minutes just watched it all with glee on her face.
Yep. All right, so let's see. Mobius got chewed out this episode about the whole not looking for his variant thing by Sylvie.
Yeah, she wasn't really in the right, though, for doing so. She doesn't really have a lot of moral high ground to stand on.
I think she could have been nicer about the whole pie thing, to be frank. It's like, come on, Sylvie, sometimes people have to eat to take their minds off things. I don't think she was necessarily wrong about her points against Mobius for not said. I think he does kind of need to hear that, but I think what triggered that was like, well, Sylvie, they can't really do anything at this point. We left to the big brains in the room. It's like, it's kind of a poorly timed. It's kind of poor timing.
It's almost like he wanted to say to her, like, well, why don't you try go and fix it then?
There you go.
It's like
Sylvie, what do you expect us to do right now, Sylvie? Just stand around in the room, breathing down the guys' necks?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's why she doesn't have much of ground to stand on in that scene.
True. So let's talk about our big trippy Loki link up moment. So we're.
Romello, do you have anything to say?
About the Loki scene?
I mean, or just in general, on any of the stuff we've talked about.
So now go ahead with the next thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so our link up with Loki was interesting here because I liked the sneaking realization. The moment I saw Sylvie get on the elevator, I kind of realized, oh my god, we've linked up, and like the TVA is kind of in meltdown here because of the loom. And it's like, well, I guess that would kind of be the crisis situation in the future that we teased, which again we're getting like 2 episodes earlier than we expected. But like I'm looking at Loki in that hallway, waiting until like, oh yeah, he doesn't have the jacket on. That's that past Loki. That's the time hopping Loki.
It's like we don't. It's like oh my god, he was seeing just a few days into it wasn't that far into the future. It was just like a couple days.
Yeah, and I was honestly throughout the episode, part of me was kind of wondering, like, well, Sylvie, yeah, she's wearing like that. She's wearing that jacket over her outfit, which is kind of, I mean, but again, because of the lighting and everything, it didn't quite click, until like, we saw that lighting on. I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely we're probably getting to this moment. And again, it's a very much like a you are your own grandfather kind of moment almost, where it's like, he's. Where Loki shows up and he has to prune himself, and when I saw, here's the thing. When I saw it the first time, my assumption was always, I think, what the intended thing is that Sylvie pruned him and saved his bacon. Now, whether or not that was like intended to be a mystery or not, I don't think that got conveyed enough because I just read as okay, Sylvie pruned him, but it's a really cool reveal here that okay, who pruned Loki because it did look like it was coming from behind, but yeah, now we know.
Loki pruned himself. You can even like, see the realization is like as he grabbed the baton and then he looks at his hand and he's like the sudden realization is like, I know what I must do.
He's got to save his own bacon.
Yep. It's like
When you saw
yep, go on.
when there were the two Lokis on the screen, did you guys thought that Loki was a variant of him or something?
No. That was no. I no. That's absolutely the time travel thing. So it's that's our Loki's the one in the jacket, and then
Yeah,
But I didn't think it was a variant. No, I realized because that was like kind of what the setting and everything very much seemed exactly like we had in episode one. So I was like that was the realization that okay, that's our Loki from episode one right there.
It is kind of interesting considering that this particular Loki was also created because of time travel.
Yeah.
So it's like
yeah. When
so he's kind of a variant of a pre-existing variant almost, but he's also like just existing because of time travel. It's very confusing.
A little bit.
yeah, I'm just thinking to myself like, when did that when our Loki, the one we're supposed to be following in the Soul series, have that jacket on? When did he decide to just go back and just stab himself with that weapon in his hand? Because I don't recall episode 1, 2, 3 that we saw Loki's plan of going back in time to. I mean, we saw that scene, but we never saw the Loki we've been following all our time, thinking he needs to go back and in that moment to stop himself to save Sherry.
Well, again the episode one Loki he went back in time to that's he went back in time so they could time the thing out with Mobius. That's what that Loki was going back in time for. And he was supposed to go back with the pruning stick, but that did not travel with him, which is the dilemma. Now this Loki, when he came back and he was all fixed up because of this mysteriously, we have no apparently now mysterious. We have no idea how he got pruned, but he got pruned. When he came back, he's got the jack as part of the ensemble for episodes 2 onward. So that's where we get our main Loki, basically the fixed up Loki. He's basically that. The weird thing is that technically, the Loki that gets pruned is the very same Loki who is there right now, currently in that moment. So it's kind of like a weird like temporal displacement thing, where it's like you have two Lokis existing in the same who are the exact same Loki, but just in two different moments in time.
That is kind of trippy.
It is. It's very trippy, and they can only exist if that Loki later saves the Loki from them.
So technically he saved himself and sent his present version back to the past.
Yeah, because if he didn't do that, the real interesting question is what would happen if he did not prune that guy? Like, what happens then?
Well, then his previous self probably would have been obliterated from the time stream.
Exactly.
It's like so it's something he had to do. Is like I have to prune myself.
Yep.
And then he tells Sherry that he'll explain everything else later.
Yeah.
When the elevator moment was, when we got to the elevator moment.
Mm-hmm. All right. So yeah, and again, we I guess just the only thing to really kind of hit again is that timely he gets gets destroyed by time radiation, and seemingly the TVA and just all of reality is just kind of coming apart. It's all just like disappearing, and we end on like Loki's face is like everything just disappears around him.
Yeah, it's like when time like okay, well, how long will Timely survive? But then the minute he steps out into it, it's like vroom. It's basically irradiated into spaghetti.
I just really wonder how ambitious we're going to get with these next two episodes. That's the real question, because we're in really uncharted territory with these next two. Like, presumably things are going to somehow be fixed, but the way in which we fix it, I mean, if it's Kang's to the rescue, that's going to be really interesting. If, like, the Kang's like, no, we want to accomplish reality, we need to fix it. We need to rewind the clocks back a little here.
I wonder if Loki does lead the TVA, that it'll be like one of the linchpins of like Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars.
I think that's going to be the case. I think Loki, what he laid out is like that's the new mission of the TVA. It's how it's going to keep going on. So I think that Loki's probably going to be at the head of that, or at least a key factor, and that's what the TVA is going to be.
Instead of like being made by Kang, he'll basically continue the mission of He Who Remains.
Now the other thing we should talk about is that we pruned.
Is that basically what you're saying, Dragon? Like he'll basically continue the mission of He Who Remains to keep the other Kangs in check?
I think Loki's going to be a proactive He Who Remains, yes. I think he's going to be a guy's not going to be sitting in the throne room, but he will essentially be He Who Remains, yes.
Okay, but as you were saying, they prune Renslayer.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's the last we see of her. I wonder if we're going to have a gag where she just took down Goliath all by herself and then she came back as well, like the other guys.
Well, that took down what?
Took down Goliath. You know, like remember she took down the giant cloud alligator thing.
All right.
Remember, that's how Loki survived pruning. Like we took out the alligator, and you know we essentially
that's how they, because pruning doesn't actually fully destroy them.
Yeah, pruning just takes you to a place where you're going to die. It's essentially what pruning does. It's not like you're not disintegration. It sends you to a place where you're definitely going to die.
Unless you're like Loki from the first episode where he's pulled out of it.
Yeah.
Man, this entire thing is insane.
Okay, well that was a fair enough. Well, pruning was like a thing where essentially your molecules get sent through time, but it was like a time thing where if he gets pruned at the exact moment where Mobius plugs in that thing, that saved Loki. That stopped him from going back to Goliath. That's essentially what stopped him from doing that.
Man, that's nuts.
It is. Absolutely.
Hey, this entire each episode seems like upping its own game.
Seemingly, yes. And again, we have two episodes. The MCU TV series have always had trouble with episodes 5 and 6 because traditionally what happens is 5 is like the big whammo blammo. This is the best one of the season. Then 6. I'm not saying there aren't exceptions. Obviously, with seasons that really have more than 6 episodes and other things, but that's kind of been the pattern for a lot of the Disney Plus series. But we'll see. We'll see if that's going to continue or if we're going to be able to pull off with 6. Because I think so far we've been doing a good job with it. We really are. We're in unfettered territory with these 2 episodes we have left here. So anything could happen.
Oh yeah.
All right, Romello, anything you'd like to say before we close out here?
Yeah, I was about to say, how many seasons you expect to come from this series? Like,
honestly, I expected just 2, but it sounds like they want to do a third. I think whatever we do, I've been speculating that the TVA, as we know it, will come to an end this season. And if we do come back for more, that'll be like this rebranded TVA that's going to be like, basically, not in so many words, but I don't know. I'm not saying verbatim, but it would be kind of like a Loki Agent of Asgard escalation, where TVA somehow is going to be a new thing, or like Loki outside of the TVA would be the show, or some new version of the TVA, kind of like what we kind of circled around this episode. That would be season 3. Like it'll be like the end of the season is probably going to be Mobius gets the jet ski, and we're going to be like, what do we do now? Jet ski, and that's probably how the season's going to end. And then season 3 will be like, okay, what's the status quo after that? That's still going to have Loki and Mobius hanging out and doing kind of Men in Black sort of stuff, or like doing like Loki shenanigans with Mobius kind of in tow for the adventure. That's probably what season 3-4 would be. But this thing's planned out for like a 2-season story, but maybe with an open end for 3.
Like we all know the true OTP is Mobius and jet ski.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I guess broad spectrum. It's really weird to say because we have all these movies and everything planned out, and it's the fact of like the shows are not coming out nearly fast enough, and the strike indeed has not helped this matter. So it's just the fact of as much as we want to plan things out and say that these shows are going to get more seasons, like even when they get these seasons, are going to have to be placed in a really awkward place in the midst of all these films. Like for all we know, Loki season 3 even would take place probably after Kang Dynasty at this rate, and that's obviously going to be a little troublesome. Like, well, we did all the Kang stuff, and potentially in a Kang related, kind of passing the baton thing, unless we do that Agents of Asgard thing, which is completely after all of that.
Isn't Avengers Kang Dynasty supposed to come out in 2026?
Well, that's the thing. They keep pushing everything back, so I'm thinking, I forget if they pushed them both to 2026 now or not.
This
I
is
think Kang Dynasty was supposed to be 2025, and then Secret Wars was going to be 26, but I could be getting that wrong right now.
no. It says that Avengers 5 is supposed to come out May 1st, 2026, and
Mm-hmm.
where's hold on, I'm trying to look up Avengers Secret Wars. Da, 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 da. See, Avengers Secret Wars is supposed to come out 2027.
Okay, see that's the thing. So initially they did at some point they did bump things to push that one into 27. So yeah, now it's I think we keep going further and further with these. It just seems like I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to squeeze in a show. But then again, they could always announce shows and say, hey, they're coming. Things that were not on the big Comic-Con timeline that we saw. They can always say, here's a few bare spots.
So you think Loki season 3 might come out like in 2026? Is that what you said?
I guess what I'm saying is in a perfect world we'd have it like in at 26 or maybe 25 before Kang Dynasty happens. But I think in all reality, the way they have to play it, because unfortunately, and I really do hope this changes for the MCU and the way they're doing things right now, it really feels like there's having no communication between the series and the movies, or at least in a way that really substantially matters. Like think of like, okay, here's generally what we're doing, just guesstimate a little, and we'll just we'll write around it. Versus like, okay, guys, now here's absolutely the story we're gonna tell. So let's have all of this make sense and have all of it like connect and work and all that. It feels like we're not because we're not communicating between the films and the television. It feels like they're going to have to keep whatever they do next for a season 3 kind of up in the air and amorphous. So it could be before, so it can basically go before or after those movies, just the rate things are going. They have to prepare for both, and that's a little frustrating for them, especially I'm sure, but that's what they have to do really. Because we don't know when anything's coming out now. Daredevil's back in development essentially, so there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I heard that they fired Marvel fired the writers or something.
Yeah, and they had like a 4-episode shot, and they have to go back. Optimistically, it sounds like that might be for good reason. Like, okay, it's not working. We gotta take it back to square one. I don't know if that's the case or not. May or may not be, but I'm fingers crossed for the best. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I think the strike has to end first before they gotta get Marvel has to get back in track and stuff.
Yep. All right. Let's see. Romello, anything else you wanted to bring up before we?
I like to say that I think this episode was a fine episode. I had some questions, but it was good. I like the moment with with the the 1860. Is it the 18th century?
Well, you just call him
century
Mr.
king?
Timely. We just call him Timely.
Yeah, I expected Kane to be bad in this, and he turned out not to be that way. And can't wait to check out the other episodes. This is episode 4, so we got like episode 5 and 6 left.
Yep, just 2 weeks. Yep. Next week and the week after. Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hope this finale is good. And I wish I could say I'm excited for other Marvel projects, but I'm not right now. I mean, the only thing I care about in the MCU is Spider-Man, Hulk, and the Avengers. That's it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of them are really delayed at the moment.
Yeah, I know. I just with the strike going on and Marvel not doing too good, I just hope they get back right on track. And I mean, here's the thing: I want Marvel to do. I would like for them. I enjoy the MCU, but I would like Marvel to be taken seriously now. Like I like them to be serious, like the first 2 X-Men films were, and like the first 2 Sam Raimi Spider-Mans were, because I think Marvel and Disney, they do the comedic, jokey humor too much for both the TV show and movies. And I'm not saying they should not ever do it again, but when I saw the She-Hulk TV show, and I do like the She-Hulk TV show a little bit, but what they did with that show, they tried to make it into a comedy, and I think they did too much on that series. And I will like, and like Marvel when they do their more projects. I would like them to do Marvel series right now and just do it like the way in the early days, in the early 2000s, like X-Men, X2, and Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2. Just do Marvel series for now and do the jokey humor like one or two times, but make the MCU be serious and have some dark moments in that universe.
Right. I don't want to sound like a broken record. I've been saying this for a while, and I still, even with the way things are with it right this second, I still feel that the future of the MCU really, Daredevil really does lie in the balance with how it's going to turn out. Like if we're going to be able to kind of refocus things, because that's the barometer of like something they got to measure up to, but also would be a very serious story with levity from the charm of the characters, but would not be very like jokey. It would just be a natural kind of like you'd have a few like a few light moments potentially with like the charm of Matt Murdock and handle these characters, and maybe like a Stilt Man, for example, in terms of some of the wackier villains we might be able to get away with here. But yeah, that would be a way to reground things and kind of like as I'm saying, all the expectations are going to be whenever we get this Daredevil show, and that's going to be, I think a lot's going to rest on its shoulders. Which I mean, could sink it, could help it. I hope I want it to go well, and that's again I'm going to just keep bringing up Daredevil, but I mean that's that right now that's kind of the only prayer the MCU has to kind of like I don't know, they kind of go a different way than they've been going and kind of like have something that might be the tide that raises all ships. That might be the way to do it. So everyone kind of dance like even looking She-Hulk, the show polarized a lot of people. One episode, what's the one episode everyone loved? It was that Daredevil episode. I don't disagree with them. It was great. All right. So I want to thank Romello for coming on with us here tonight.
I appreciate being here.
Thank you.
I think that'll close us out. So that'll do it for us tonight as we holster our moats till the next installment goes for the draw. Just mano a mano, just Plus and Us.
You'll never be him.
You'll never be him.